ancient rock art and psychedelics. What's the connection between those two things? And is it possible that some of the imagery that we see under the influence of psychedelics is actually an intrinsic part of our nervous system that connects us back to our ancient ancestors? It's quite an interesting subject, so please click on the link below or go to roxiva.com to read the full article. I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction here, and I'm actually going to show you some images of some ancient pottery and some ancient rock art that show this relationship. So let's have a look at the first image up here. Now this clearly shows some mushroom-shaped containers and a couple of ancient Anatolian goddess images here, one with a double mushroom head, one with some opium seed pods. This next image is actually a cave painting from an estimated time of about 8 to 10,000 years ago, and what this clearly shows is a shaman in full headdress and surrounded by mushrooms. In fact, if I scroll down here briefly, this is a sketch of the same image above, showing a shaman surrounded by mushrooms. Now this next image clearly shows a squirrel smoking a joint and another squirrel up here high as a kite, literally. Now next image, wow, I mean, again, this is estimated to be 8 to 10,000 plus years old, and I don't know what that's showing, but is that a result of psychedelics or is that the result of something else? I'll leave that up to your imagination. But anyway, let's go on to this next image. This is a little bit more typical. This is actually, as you can see, a hunting type imagery here, the hunter there. This is actually a deer, but what I actually want you to pay attention to is this sort of patterning here, where it has a central theme and then a radiating pattern coming outside from it, and this little spirals like this, or sort of random, sometimes not random, sometimes regular patterns like this. And when I show you this next image here, it becomes even more obvious. Now this is a pretty impressive find. This was actually found just last year, and it's part of an 8-mile long wall of these images. And again, notice all the sort of jagged shapes, swirly lines, sort of grid patterns of regular formity, sort of geometric style patterns and things here. Really interesting stuff. And the reason I want you to pay attention to those, other than the usual sort of common animals and stuff that you also see here, is when I show you this. Now this is a pretty modern sort of drawing. It's a very simplistic drawing. It's obviously much more elaborate than this when you're actually experiencing psychedelics. But this is basically the most common forms of what is called phosphenes. Now phosphenes are the patterns created in your mind's eye under the influence of psychedelics or other types of things, like for instance under the influence of flickering lights, like in the case of the RX1 on this website. And these are the most common forms you see. Again, notice the wavy shapes, the central point with things radiating out of it, the sort of, you know, common sort of type patterns like this, swirls and circles, spirals. And again, if we briefly go back here, you see that sort of thing here as well. And again here, spirals. So really interesting. Now here is just a real simple example. I just kind of like the look of this. This just shows how easy it is with a very simple grid pattern like this. Is the moment you add movement to this grid pattern, you start getting all sorts of weird and wonderful effects. Now if you imagine that movement happening in multiple directions multiple times per second, then you start getting these sorts of things. Again, these are very simplistic drawings of this type of psychedelic experiences we get of phosphenes. Some of them more elaborate than others, and naturally once you start adding color to them, which is what the real experience is like, then you start getting things more akin to this. So again, this is just a very brief introduction to psychedelics and how the tribes used them in the past, and the potential of them actually being part of something that actually links us to ancestors. And I talk about that more in the article, so please have a read. Please like and subscribe to this channel. I'll be doing more videos to introduce articles on things of interest, and I'll see you soon.